spring of 1932. And he didn't go to work as a pilot until about 6 or 8 months later because they didn't have a place for him. So they let him go to work in the sheet metal department here at this building, by the way.
Okay.
And he worked there until he was called to duty as a pilot. And from that point on, he was with TWA for 29 years.
Okay. And when did you first fly a plane?
I first, for TWA or?
For any kind of plane, anything that gets in the air.
1941.
Yeah, that's right, 1941. I learned to fly on the north end of this airport. Joe Jacobson, one of the local pilots here, had a civilian pilot training program.
When he went to work for TWA, because I got his job with Mid-Continental Airlines.
I would go to work for him as a civilian pilot.
Just got out of high school.
With a civilian pilot training program.
And what kind of plane was your first one?
It was a little single-engine Piper Cub type airplane.
Piper Cub? And was it, how scared were you that day?
Scared?
Yeah, no?
Scared.
Pretty scared? And what were you most scared of, do you recall?
I didn't understand what you said.
What most scared you? What was most frightening about it, do you think?
Well, maybe it wasn't frightening, but I was very alert and attentive on my solo flight. It was an experience like every young pilot has when he solos for the first time. It was one of the biggest thrills of my life.
How old do you think you might have been?
I was 20.
No going inside the cockpit.
I was hired by TWA in 1942. Chief pilot at that time in this building right here.
And you would you have been 21 by that time?
I was 21 when I went to work for TWA. Retired in 1981.
How many sorties do you think you did all those years? Is that the right
Anyway.
flights, sorties would you have taken?
Oh, how many flights?
I guess.
Miles. Thousands. Thousands. I flew domestic for a great many years. I was based on the West Coast for most of my career. And the base of San Francisco.
And you're over in Italy.
Flew out of there until I retired.
Yeah, you're over in Italy for a while, weren't you?
Beg your pardon?
Weren't you over in Italy for a while? Italy?
Well, yeah, and I wasn't based there though.
Oh, Virginia moved over there.
Yeah, she moved over. We lived in Rome,
I
Italy
know just finished.
for a period of time,
Yeah.
a couple of years, I guess.
And did your
International, I was based in New York City at the time and commuted from New York, from California to Arizona to New York to take my regular trips out from New York over to Europe.
okay. I suspect you heard some stories about the old days from your father, though.
Many. I lived through a lot of them, that's for sure.
I saw something, this may not be true, again, I was looking online today, and I saw a story about him having to land in a pretty rough field in Nevada, and he fashioned a wheel out of a couple of things, including the toilet seat. Is that
That's
true?
correct. Actually, well, it was Utah, a little bitty burg in Utah, and when he landed, it was the right gear. The wheel went into a gopher hole and broke the wheel off. So he scavenged around with the local help. They took an old toilet seat, rounded it off, bolted it together, put it on the airplane, and they took off there, completed his trip back to Detroit, Michigan. And he was in a race at the time, and he came in 7th, in spite of all the refusals he had.
He comes in 7th with a toilet wheel as a toilet seat as a wheel. Okay. So it was sort of a cross-country race.
It was a cross-country race, that's right. It was called a Cirrus Air Derby.
Cirrus like the clouds. Did you ever race?
No, I never time I started my career, I was with TWA the entire time until 1981.
Okay, so you're always doing airliners.
Always with airline.
Okay.
The one wonderful airline in the world.
But the big airliners, you're not flying little things too much.
No, not after. I was qualified on single engine, multi-engine airplanes. All my time was on the big airplane. I retired from the 10, 11 airplane.
Okay. Did you have a favorite model?
Yeah, I did. My favorite airplane to fly as a pilot was a Convair 880.
A what?
Convair 880.
Excuse me, sweetheart.
It was a smaller transport, carried 95 passengers.
What's going on?
It had much more horsepower than it needed to handle any weight you could
No,
fly. And it flew like a fighter. It was the fastest airplane in the industry
You wanna go in where
at
mom
the
is?
time.
She's in there.
And it just performed just beautiful. And it was very well built airplane, very strong.
There we go.
And very fast. It had a never exceed speed of about 398 indicated below 22,000 feet. So we had a lot of fun with that airplane. We'd take off and lay the nose down till you got up to max indicated airspeed and then started climbing. We had a lot of fun racing our competitors in that airplane. We could beat them all, and we took advantage of it.
Or they were talking about breakfast for a quarter and so.
Did you, you're always flying around commercial passengers. Did you ever have times where you landed and think, well, I wasn't sure we were going to come down safely that time? Or?
In all the years that I flew, I never had an emergency of that kind, thank goodness. Was never hijacked or threatened to be hijacked. It was just hours and hours of sheer
I'm
boredom.
gonna shoot through
Boredom
here, so if I can ask you
interrupted
to
by
move
brief
that.
seconds of
Sure.
prayer.
Uh-huh.
Not meant sheer prayer.
When you're doing that now.
Don't forget the Vietnamers there.
We just have some.
Well, why is he suggesting we talk about Vietnam?
Vietnam,
Yeah, I think your son might have just suggested we talk about Vietnam.
I flew troops from Travis Air Force Base to South Vietnam to a base called Bien Hoa for a couple of years. I was supervisor of flight operations for that operation. Just about the entire Vietnam War area. And that was quite an experience. They moved the front galley from the airplane and put solid seats in, so we carried about 165 troops each way. I flew quite a bit of cargo armaments and small stuff, just through Capt mostly.
I'm sorry, you said you what sort of supplies were you?
Ordnance, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Whatever I could always tell when we were going to go to one of those bases because the airplane would get to Travis and be parked about 2 miles on the other side of the airport. So in case it exploded, it wouldn't blow things up. As far as I know, I was never shot at. And as far as I know, none of the carriers that had contracts over there, except for United, they found a bullet hole in one of their aircraft. I forget which one it was. But that's the only incident that I heard of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, did you fly anything after you retired?
Yes, small airplanes, Cessna 182, 172.
Which Cessnas did you say?
The 182 Cessna
Okay.
and 172 Cessna.
And were these planes that you owned or that
Well,
you
no, I
just
leased those whenever I wanted to fly. I lived in northern Arizona and Flagstaff area at that time. And we'd fly all over Arizona, go up to Grand Canyon and TWA's old route to Winslow, Arizona. Wherever, you know, just having a ball. Just loved it. And, I did own an airplane once, a Cessna 195. It had a 300 horsepower engine in it. It was a
195, did you say?
a 195
Yes.
Cessna, 1956 year model. And I flew to Mexico quite a few times and had going fishing trips and whatnot. That's where most of the thrills were.
When was the last time you flew, you think?
About 2 years ago,